Hi, my name is Larry Locke. I'm the publishing coordinator for the Journal of College Student Development. I use he, him pronouns. And I am here today with Dr. Micheal Goodman, an assistant professor of practice at University of Texas at Austin in the Educational Leadership and Policy program. Morning, Micheal.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. We really appreciate this. I just have a couple questions for you today, and I really look forward to hearing your answers. So, Micheal, you just wrote an article that's coming out in 63.3 of JCSD entitled "Student Government and Student Fees as a Preparation for Post-College Public Life, Public Office."
Mhm.
Um,
Basically the same. Public life, public office, it's interchangeable for a lot of elected leaders.
well, that's good to hear. Could you tell us a little bit about your article and what drew you to doing that research?
Yeah, so the findings in this article really came from a larger study about folks who had formerly been in student government who ran for or served in some sort of post-college public office. So mayors, city council folks, people who were on school board, people who were state representatives, people who were running for US Congress. And so looking at this connection between, or if there was any connection between having been in student government and then actually running for or serving in some sort of public office after college. Essentially, that larger study really displayed that student government is public office, that student government is a form of public office, and that shows up in a lot of my research in other ways, talking to student government officers and student body presidents in particular. And so this study in particular, the one that I published in Research in Brief, really looked at student fees and taxes as a big learning opportunity for students. And so many student governments have essentially some sort of oversight over student fees or some sort of financial allocation to student organizations, to entities on campus. And all of my participants in different ways talked about this training that was for later decisions that they had to make related to taxes or budget or some sort of finances. And so it was just interesting thing that kept coming up over and over again. One participant, that kind of continues to reverberate with me, Amy, shared, you have to hope and trust that your elected officials or your university officials are good stewards of your dollars. And I think that was something that that responsibility was not taken lightly by these participants, but that they really traced a lot of that back to their college days. And so in these examples, some of these students, former students, were managing $100,000 to $1 million budgets. Students, some of them were 19, 20, 21 years old. And so to have that responsibility, to have that oversight was a training ground, was a preparation for post-college public office. And so it was a very interesting study that I really enjoyed writing because there's a lot of discourse really more broadly in student government world about funding. This idea of tuition is one thing, but fees is another, and student fees can be a lot of money at a college campus, and then to have the responsibility of allocating those fees beyond student government or have some sort of connection to student government is quite significant. And so this opportunity to write this article was one that I have been looking forward to, and to see that in my data was really exciting. And I'm so grateful to be able to have published a Research in Brief about it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Could you talk a little bit about why you chose to publish with Research in Brief in JCSD?
Yeah, so I was a practitioner for many years before I was a professor, and I always had good intentions to read articles. And when I wasn't a student, I found that really difficult sometimes, or having that be carved into my job or making time for it. And there's such a value in shorter articles that are empirical and that also have an opportunity to take practical tips and practical recommendations away. And so I found Research in Brief as a way to be able to say, here's a little bit about what we know on this specific topic, and then here are some things that you can do with it. So in my attempt in that way was for practitioners. Maybe they're student government advisors, maybe they are folks who are working in administration that oversee some sort of budget or allocation process at a university, be able to have a quick read, for lack of a better term, about a topic, and then be able to have the still process of implications and recommendations, and also a small lit review, like to kind of condense sometimes these long academic articles can be really helpful for practitioners. I know when I found shorter articles as a practitioner, sometimes they were the easier ones to digest and do something with. And I think there's still a lot of value in the really long articles as well. I certainly have done some of those myself, but I do think when I was a practitioner, it was a little more digestible to do this kind of work with a brief as informing than rather spending a substantial amount of time reading several long articles. And so I think for this study in particular, because there's so many practical implications about student government and student fees, I felt like it was really a great space and a great way to publish about this topic for practitioners in particular.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing with us more about your article and about the RIB process for yourself. Is there anything else you'd like to say about your article before we end today?
No, I mean, I think what excites me about RIBs, but also just the future of research, is that we can make it what we want it to be. And I think RIBs allows scholars and practitioners to publish in a way that doesn't seem daunting. I think sometimes when I teach students, research feels so far away and so difficult and so big. And I think this is a really nice way for both scholars and practitioners to see a future of research that could also be really digestible and also get to the points. I know for me as a faculty member, I also try to assign short or research and brief style articles for class as well, especially when I'm teaching a room full of practitioners who are working on their master's degree or their doctorate. I think that's an also helpful way to increase learning, but also so that students don't feel like kind of, overburdened by reading assignments and reading loads and things like that. So I found it to be really useful as a practitioner, as a scholar, but also as a teacher. So I appreciate the opportunity to let my work be displayed in that way too.
Yeah, well, thank you. We really appreciate, one, your contributions to the field, and two, your contributions to just showing up today and being on this call.
Awesome.
Hey,
Thanks for having me, and thanks for publishing my work.
yeah, have a great day. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks.